Okay, Ramsey, let's jump in because the questions I get the most when someone's thinking about buying a business in Georgia are almost always about those first steps. And right out of the gate, it's the NDA. I swear, sometimes I mention the NDA and people look at me like it's some hush hush movie plot. But really, it's just standard. Protecting confidentiality is everything for both the buyer and the seller. You can't even see the basics, like not even the top line revenue without signing one. And that's for good reason.
Yeah, NDAs aren't just there to be a barrier, right? I think back to my days selling my business, and honestly, at first, I was a little annoyed at all these forms. But once you've got staff, clients, sometimes even competitors sniffing around, you get it. The whole process hinges on trust. And if word gets out before you're ready, man, things can unwind fast. So, buyers sign, sellers sign, everybody's protected. No James Bond stuff, just the basics.
Absolutely. And it goes both ways. I try to remind buyers it's not just about protecting the seller's info, your details are private too. Now, here's a second thing that always comes up. Why do I have to share my financial details so soon? It feels a bit like being asked on the first date, so, how much do you make? But truly, sellers need to know you're serious. You have the means and you have real intent.
And I see a lot of people hesitate here, but really, sellers are just vetting for the basics. They're not after your grandma's secret peach cobbler recipe or anything. They need to make sure they're not handing over their life's work to someone who can't get the deal done. I've seen deals where wiring can get so crossed. Claudia, you had that seller in Atlanta.
Yes, that was actually such a classic story. This owner had built his business over like 25 years. He was deeply cautious, would not move forward an inch without a signed NDA and some proof that the buyer had a financial background to match the business's scale. And the buyer in that case, once he was willing to show his track record and finances, it made everything easier. Suddenly, conversations opened up and the seller relaxed. Trust started building right away. I always say, if you want a shot at the right business, be ready to show you're prepared. That's how you stand out from tire kickers.
It's like if you're ready to play in Atlanta's big leagues, well, the bar's just higher. And honestly, it should be. So once you've cleared those first hurdles, the real work begins. And if you haven't started on your lending process, strap in. Securing financing seems quick on paper, but it's not. Lenders will absolutely ask for every document you can imagine: bank statements, business plans, tax returns, maybe your favorite color, who knows? It's a paperwork marathon and it takes patience. You'll get those calls. Hey, actually, we need just one more thing. And it's never just once.
And honestly, it trips up more buyers than you realize. That's why, if you're planning to buy, start organizing early. If you think you're ready now, give it another week. Get even more ready. But alongside lenders, you also have your legal team. Lawyers are there to protect you, but sometimes they protect a little too well. They'll focus on every possible risk, contract language, diligence checklist, all that. And then suddenly everything grinds to a halt.
Yeah, and I'm gonna just be honest. When I sold my business, my deal nearly fell apart because things just got bogged down in lawyer feedback. I mean, every little clause seemed like it needed a war summit. If I hadn't pushed for a non binding offer, I think we'd still be sitting there negotiating some comma on page 15. That non binding offer, yeah, it's not ironclad, but it kept things moving. Let us get to the real meat of the deal faster. In Georgia, that's just how things work. The offer gives you and the seller a sandbox to actually negotiate before you lock yourself in.
That's so true, Ramsey. I always tell clients you don't want your deal's momentum to die in the weeds of legal reviews. Use that non binding offer as a way to keep the conversation fluid. Don't get scared if the process feels slow or like everyone's asking too many questions, because they are. That's how you find out if the business is really a fit and you avoid disaster later.
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, don't panic when your attorney emails you a 5 page document about potential environmental liabilities in a bakery. They have to cover everything. But at some point, you gotta keep moving. Otherwise, you're risking deal fatigue, or worse, a lost opportunity.
All right, so now you're under contract. And honestly, this is where things get real. If you listen to our last episode on heart lessons, you know due diligence is non negotiable. You've got to dig into the numbers, financial statements, inventory, contracts, tax filings, all of it. This is your chance to check, test, and double check that what you've been told is the real story.
And it can get overwhelming. There's just so much to review. This is where working with a business broker or M&A advisor, especially someone who knows Georgia inside and out, is a lifesaver. They'll help you chase down the right information, spot red flags, and honestly, reduce your stress by about 80%. I don't know the exact percentage, but it's a lot. They've seen things buyers might miss.
It makes all the difference. I just worked with a client last month. He would have bought into a good looking business, but when his advisor started the due diligence, they turned up a hidden tax liability. It wasn't obvious on the surface, but it could have been a six-figure problem. Having the right professional in your corner, someone asking those tough questions, that's what saves you from a nightmare down the line.
And think about it. That's not even rare. We've both seen those cases where advisors catch something big at the last hour. Sometimes it's a tax thing, sometimes it's an expired contract or a missing license. If you're trying to do all this solo, you're just stacking risk on top of risk. The right advisor doesn't just close deals, they protect your future, which at the end of the day is really what every buyer and seller wants, right?
Exactly. That's why we keep saying it's not about going it alone. Get support, ask questions, let experts guide you. You deserve a smooth transition, not months of stress and surprises. All right, Ramsey, I think that's a perfect place to wrap up for today. For anyone listening, if you're thinking about buying a business in Georgia and want more clarity on these steps, we're always here to help and answer questions.
Yeah, and if you missed our other episodes on deal prep, valuations, or the emotional roller coaster that is business sales, definitely go back and give them a listen. Claudia, always a pleasure talking through these things with you.
Same to you, Ramsey. Thanks everyone for joining us. Until next time.
Take care and good luck with your next transition.